Civilization is far from the first forex strategy, but it's easily one of the most influential. The first Civilization came out in 1991. I was born 3 years later. I first played it when I was 3 years old. Now I'm 32 and this game is always on my computer. Honestly, I have a USB stick with a few games that I install on every single PC I own, and Civilization is one of them. This series has seen insane highs and crushing disappointments. You have probably played at least one game from the series, but you've almost certainly never touched the original. The bare-bones 2D graphics and near total lack of sound haven't exactly helped it age well. We compare it to newer entries, the first Civ can't hold up to any real criticism, but we don't love it because it's better than the rest. We love it because it gave birth to a legendary series, hundreds of imitators, and thousands of other games that borrowed its mechanics. Graphics, sound, and control settings are picked before you launch the game. You also can choose world generation options. You can tweak them if you want. Also, you can play on the Earth map. After that, you pick the difficulty and the number of civilizations from 2 to 7. At the very start you choose one of the civilizations. They are all basically the same. The only difference is that under AI control they behave slightly differently. Specifically, they have different levels of aggression, expansionism and militarism. Some will focus on building up their cities and researching peaceful technologies. Others will rush towards maximum militarization and expansion. Hello Mongols! If you're familiar with the Civilization series, you will have no trouble figuring out what is what, even with this eye-bleeding graphics. Building cities, managing citizens for resources, construction buildings and units, it was all there in the first game. It will take you a bit longer to understand the terrain though. It's decently drawn, but to figure out what each tile gives you, you will spend some time in the Civilopedia and learn the rest through the trial and error. Like I said, Civilization is a textbook definition of forex strategy. Throughout the game you will explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. Exploring comes down to moving your units, finding resources and rivals, and researching technologies. The tech tree here is a classic, even if it's not shown visually. Studying one technology opens up the option to study others. For example, to research chivalry you need feudalism and horseback riding. To research feudalism you first need monarchy, and so on. Expanding is the classic series gameplay of spreading across the map with settlers and of course aggressively taking enemy cities. What would we do without that? Choosing your city's location is crucial. Whether it grows, generates income or produces units quickly depends entirely on its placement. That's why early scouting is vital for your empire's foundation. Expansion also includes city growth, which leads to increased production and trade. Exploit is about managing city resources. Besides the city population, where every 10,000 people equal one worker, there are only three main resources. Food, which drives population growth. Production, represented by shields. Every unit and building costs a certain number of shields, so more shields per turn means faster production. And trade, which generates science, gold and luxury goods in a proportion you control, and you can change that ratio every turn. For instance, after researching a key technology, you might set taxes to 100% to quickly churn out the new units it unlocked. Also worth mentioning is the happiness mechanic. As cities grow, some citizens become unhappy. To keep the city functioning, every unhappy citizen needs to be balanced by a happy one. You can do this by increasing luxury goods, constructing certain buildings and wonders, or turning a worker into an entertainer, which boosts local happiness. Oh, and I almost forgot, you can also turn workers into specialists like bankers or scientists, which increases your gold or science output in that city. Extermination. What could be simpler than one unit attacking another, killing another, or dying to another? It's what we do in thousands of games. Even chess has this mechanics, so why even mention it? But in the first Civilization, the outcome of a fight between two units is basically a dice roll. For example, a knight has an attack of 4 and a militia has defense of 1. That means the knight has a 4 out of 5 chance to win. This sometimes leads to absolutely ridiculous situations, like a Phalanx killing an atomic bomb. A nuclear bomb has 99 attack and a fortified Phalanx has 4 defense. The probability of that outcome is about 4%, but it's happened in my games. In the game, there are 5 types of government, split into 2 camps, warmongers and pacifists. Pacifists republic and democracy, explode your city productivity and science, you become a powerhouse overnight. The catch? You can't wage war. A single unit stepping outside the city makes people riot. 2 turns of riot, your government collapses into anarchy. No taxes, no science, just pain. Also, the Senate will never let you start a war. Cowards, warmongers, despotism, monarchy, communism have no war penalties, but also none of the crazy production bonuses. Communism is a decent middle ground later on. Low corruption, no production penalties, but it unlocks pretty late. So you either build paradise and pray nobody attacks you, or you embrace the chaos and crush everyone before they outtech you. Beyond ordinary buildings, you can of course build wonders of the world. Unique structures with unique bonuses. Most of them are mediocre, but some of them are true game changers. For example, the Apollo program reveals the entire map and lets you build the spaceship needed for a science victory. The Great Library gives you any technologies that at least 2 other civilizations possess, until no such technologies remain. The Manhattan Project lets you build nuclear weapons, but the most imbalanced wonder of all is pyramids. The pyramids can be built right from the start of the game, and they let you instantly switch to any available government type without researching the required technologies. So, there are basically 2 main strategies in Civilization 1. The first is the barracks city approach, where you completely ignore city development, farm chariots, beeline navigation and chivalry, and abandon all research, turning everything into gold. Your goal is to find and terminate every living thing on the planet, except yourself. The second is what I call the Paradise Island. It's nearly unplayable on the highest difficulty, but it gives immense satisfaction on lower ones. You must fully capture the island you spawned on, so that no rival remains on the same landmass. Then, after building the pyramids, you switch to democracy and spam settlers who in this game can also improve tiles and build roads. Then, sitting on your island, focusing purely on optimizing your cities, you should surge ahead in technology. However, as I mentioned, on the highest difficulty, the Emperor, it is practically impossible. AI gets massive bonuses that are insurmountable, and in the long run, it will still outpace your progress while also being able to attack you. There are 2 ways to win in Civilization. The obvious one is a world conquest. The other is winning the space race by launching a spaceship to Alpha Centauri. This requires researching almost every technology, and actually building the ship demands enormous production capacity. Throughout the game, you also accumulate points that affect your final score and the development of your palace. This is a purely cosmetic thing, where you decorate your palace, build an avenue, a walkway, and expand the palace itself using 3 different architectural styles. I also want to mention a couple of very rare but incredibly cool moments that can happen during the game. The first one is a civil war, which can start if you capture an enemy capital. Half of that country's cities will break away to form a new civilization that will be at war with the original one. For this to happen, your state must be smaller than the enemy state, but you must have at least 6 cities, and there must be fewer than 7 total civilizations in the game. Since there is a cap on how many can exist simultaneously. Another cool thing, sometimes an enemy city can be impressed by the beauty of your nation, that it peacefully flips to your control. However, that requires one of your cities to be celebrating "We Love the King Day", while the enemy cities is in disorder. Unfortunately, I cannot find the exact mechanics of the flip chance online, but it's happened to me like twice across thousands of playthroughs. Also, you have all probably heard the meme about nuclear Gandhi. Legend has it that Gandhi originally had the lowest aggression rating, which is 1. Supposedly, when adopting democracy, his aggression will drop by 2 down to -1, but since that value couldn't be negative, it would overflow to the maximum 255, making Gandhi the most aggressive leader on the planet. This would make him build nothing but attacking units and wage endless war. If he got nukes, he would try to turn the planet into nuclear ash. Even though the developers have debunked this story, it became a meme that carried into later games, where the devs intentionally gave Gandhi nuclear tendencies. And that's Civilization 1. Ugly, clunky, and honestly kind of brilliant. It started a series that defined the genre, and for that alone, it deserves respect. If you've never tried it, maybe give it a shot. Just don't blame me when it's suddenly 4 AM and you need one more turn. If you like the video, subscribe. Follow me at Twitch. I stream daily, almost. Thank you.